Marketo features are spread across different sections in Marketo. These are spread across marketing activities, design studio, analytics, admin section, and database. And while these are the most active sections, there are some less active sections like admin, which is the engine of Marketo. It's kind of reserved for engineers like who are qualified to do the technical stuff. It's a bit complicated area. This is also the area which is kind of the back end. It's not the actual back end, it's like you get the point. And this is where most integrations are built. This is where the sync is built. This is where the channels and tags are built. Basically, the fundamentals are configured into this area. And this video is going to be very general and about a very specific feature of Marketo, Smart Campaigns. And if you are a marketer, you understand the importance of database, you understand the importance of audience, and acquiring audience is very important to you. You accumulate a list of prospects from events, you purchase from vendors, you create the landing pages and the funnels to get more audience. You do a lot of campaigns basically. And if you're just here to learn Marketo, having this mindset is a big deal because when you are approaching learning Marketo or doing Marketo projects, when you are doing Marketo project from a mindset to help marketers and sales, it's kind of the best way to approach this environment. And technically, there are various ways to add people into database. Now, this is where we'll start talking about some features and functionalities. How to create some records in the database. You can create these records directly as a user. You can upload a list of people in the CSV format. Very typically, this is what happens in a lot of projects. We call it list uploads. And usually the upload is from the attendees from the events, or then people can also be created just by filling up the forms on the landing pages you build. And when someone fills out a form, they are basically automatically created back in Marketo database. Records can be created in other platforms as well, which kind of connect to Marketo. For example, Salesforce. If someone creates a lead in Salesforce and through the bidirectional sync, which is usually the case, a record also gets created in Marketo. That's like another way to create audience in Marketo. And you could call these different ways as sources of your data. And you can actually see some sources of your database in Marketo reports using some system fields like registration, source info, and all that. Once you have data about your audience, you run different operations on these audience, and you do that by smart campaigns or workflows. A lot of these operations boil down to if then conditions, which we call the smart campaigns in Marketo. These are workflows where you can set up the criteria to qualify your audience, and flow steps can take the actions. And these actions can be like sending them the email, scoring them, flagging them for some particular funnel stage, sending them to sales, pushing them to some nurture sequence, etc., and so on. There can be a lot of things which you build in Marketo, and you can push these people to all those programs or all those functionalities which you build in Marketo. The criteria section of these workflows or smart campaigns is called smart lists. This is where you define the criteria of your desired audience, and it's done in a very logical and systematic manner. We have two broad categories which we use to qualify audiences, and these are triggers and filters. Smart lists are something which also exist independently, as well as they also exist in smart campaigns. For our discussion in this video, we are focusing on the aspect where the smart list is a part of smart campaign. And this section of smart campaign the smart list, which we are talking about, where you set up the rules to qualify the audience in a logical manner. And there are two broad ways to set up these rules. These are triggers and filters. And triggers are basically events which trigger the workflow. And they trigger the workflow as soon as they occur. For example, a workflow can activate in real time whenever someone fills out a form, or let's say clicks link in an email, opens an email, or visits a web page, or maybe do some other activity which you are tracking. And filters, on the other hand, are data points, or consider filters like facts, uh, like a filter about the company, the country, the job title, and all those details, or historical activity, like something which is a fact. You can define a criteria by using filters like country is India and company is XYZ and job title is marketing manager. And then you can adjust the logic and or advanced, etc. These are triggered campaigns when you are doing the combination, but someone will only qualify when everything is applying, like the trigger happens, as well as that someone also qualifies for the filters. For example, you may have a triggered campaign to run whenever someone fills out a form X. However, it will only run if the person is from India and their company name is XYZ and their job title contains marketing. Like, I'm just taking an example. You could set up any filter you would like to. This seemingly simple functionality is one of the greatest powers of Marketo. You can have dozens of filters and triggers and dozens of flow steps. There is so much you can do, not just sending an email. But it also opens up some real life challenges, especially when people don't maintain documentation. And of course, there are some reasonable um reasons, but the fact is that, like, the usual case is you will not get documentation in a very detailed manner whenever you are on Marketo projects, unfortunately. And I do try to maintain it, and we are starting to try to maintain it. But if we look at the past data, it was not the case for a long time. um, Fortunately, this is changing, but still, even if you maintain it, it's kind of hard to figure out when there are some real life changes for these cases. Let's say someday someone is going to ask you why someone who filled out a form did not MQL and was not assigned to sales, and you have to investigate. It takes time to uncover the filters when you are trying to solve such issues. You usually end up in a space where you learn that, okay, fine, that person filled out a form, but that person did not qualify because we had additional filters. And for these cases, I have actually shared a concept of creating an AI agent, in terms of like GPT, where you create documentation of complex workflows. You have it in plain English. Basically, you can create a chat window where you can ask these reasons, and the agent will point out to the logical gap. So, if you ask such a question about why someone filled out a form and did not MQL, it can give you scenarios where a person will not MQL by looking at the filters. We'll hopefully get to these discussions later on, but let's stick to Marketo for now. Smart campaigns are basically the heart of Marketo, and these if then conditions can become large and complex to support modern marketing. There are some useful features about smart campaigns, and I just want to talk through some of them. First, you can export the rules in place. Yes, you don't need to be a Marketo expert to know these workflows. Simply export these rules, and you can basically send that spreadsheet to whoever needs it. Second, you can actually adjust the settings to allow people to qualify once or multiple times in a workflow or a smart campaign. This is an interesting feature. Think of a smart campaign which MQLs people everyone someone fills out a specific form, And sometimes like the same person is filling out the same form multiple times, and it kind of inflates the scoring and whatnot, and you don't want to do it. You could basically restrict it to qualify only once per week or per month. Third, you can schedule your smart campaigns in advance to run at a specific time in future. And you can also schedule a recurrence run, like you can create a recurring campaign which kind of runs every day. Most campaigns ideally are scheduled in advance, and the triggered campaigns are for reacting to important events like demo inquiries or filling out contact us forms. Like at this stage, when I'm talking about campaigns, I'm talking about smart campaigns. I know it can get confusing for marketers, but we are talking about smart campaigns, so bear with me. The recurring smart campaigns are usually done to monitor things. For example, running a smart campaign every day to send a list of people who, let's say, came from social media, and you send that list to marketing manager. It's essentially done by using the filters to identify those people and then adding them to a static list and then subscribing people to that static list. So subscribing people to a list is also somewhat less used feature of Marketo, but it's good. It actually automatically sends the list of people in that list, including the spreadsheet, which can be downloaded to the people who subscribe to it. You can also download it yourself and send it yourself. However, be careful about the PII. Some regions are more strict than others. And that's all I have to share about smart campaigns for now. But overall, you can see how once we simplify a concept, it kind of starts to feel easy. And that's the point of a lot of my content. I think once we uplift our knowledge to a point collectively where we filter out useless complexity, that's where we will start to see the true potential we all have collectively. And thanks to the nice response to my last video, I know these videos are not perfect and somehow raw. Think of it as my public record to help you get ahead in Marketo knowledge in an intelligent manner and learn myself as well. There is so much which is coming up in the next decade, and I hope I am helping you and myself by learning marketing automation in a clear manner so you are ready for the future. I will be back with another video later on. Till then, all the best. Let's keep getting better.